My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 25 years old, and 8 months ago my mother gave my car to my older brother's wife without even asking me first. Not borrowed, not shared temporarily, given away. The worst part. She smiled while doing it. She needs it more than you do, Mom told me casually over the phone. You work from home, be reasonable. Reasonable. That was the word my family always used whenever they wanted me to quietly accept being treated like I mattered less. I didn't scream, didn't threaten lawyers, didn't make a scene. I just sat there holding my phone while my stomach slowly twisted itself into knots. Because deep down, I already knew this wasn't really about the car. It never was. The car was just proof of something I'd spent my entire life trying not to admit. In my family, I was always the extra person, the adjustable one, the daughter expected to shrink herself whenever somebody else wanted more room. Then came my grandmother Vivian's 72nd birthday dinner. 40 relatives, private ballroom, crystal chandeliers, and one question that changed everything. Claire, Grandma asked gently across the table, why did your sister-in-law arrive in your car? The entire room went silent. And what happened after that destroyed the version of our family my mother spent 25 years trying to protect. Before I tell you how it all exploded, take a second to like and subscribe if you enjoy emotional family drama stories like this. And tell me honestly in the comments, have you ever felt invisible inside your own family? Because once you realize people benefit from your silence, they start calling your pain peacekeeping. Growing up in the Bennett family felt like living beside a stage where somebody else always had the spotlight. My older brother Ryan was the golden child from birth. Athletic, loud, confident, the kind of person strangers instantly liked. Mom loved that about him, loved introducing him, loved bragging about him. When Ryan married Olivia at 27, Mom somehow became even more obsessed. Olivia was polished, beautiful, social. Exactly the kind of daughter-in-law Mom could show off online beside decorative holiday centerpieces. Meanwhile, I became the quiet daughter who worked remotely designing marketing campaigns for small companies. Because I worked from my apartment instead of an office tower downtown, Mom treated my career like an internet hobby. At some point, you need a real adult job, she'd say during family dinners while asking Ryan detailed questions about his corporate sales position. It didn't matter that I earned enough to support myself comfortably. What mattered was appearances, and nothing about me impressed my mother publicly. The favoritism started so early I almost didn't notice it anymore. When we were kids, Ryan got privacy. I got flexibility. Ryan got the larger bedroom because boys need space. Ryan got his college apartment partially paid for because his career mattered. Ryan got forgiven every time he forgot birthdays, skipped holidays, or spoke rudely. I got lectures about understanding stress, understanding pressure, understanding family. Funny how understanding always moved in one direction. By 25, I'd mostly stopped expecting fairness. I had my apartment, my career, my routines, my independence, and honestly, distance made family easier to tolerate. The one person who always treated me differently was Grandma Vivian. She noticed things nobody else did. The way conversations cut me off halfway through, the way Mom volunteered my time without asking, the way Ryan automatically assumed I'd adjust plans around him. Grandma never confronted it directly. She just watched quietly, collecting information, like someone waiting for the exact right moment. Every Sunday evening she called me, not Ryan, not Olivia, me. We'd talk for hours about books, gardening, terrible television dramas, and old family stories nobody else cared enough to hear. One evening during one of those calls, she said something strange. You know who you remind me of? Who? Myself at your age, I laughed softly. That doesn't seem good. Oh, it isn't, she answered immediately. Women like us learn how to disappear too easily. At the time, I didn't fully understand what she meant. I would soon. 3 months before the birthday dinner, Grandma surprised me with the first genuinely thoughtful gift I'd ever received from my family. A silver Honda Passport, midnight blue, brand new. I almost cried when I saw it parked outside her house with a giant white ribbon stretched across the hood. Grandma, you needed reliable transportation, she said simply. Mom stood nearby smiling tightly, not warm, not emotional, tight, like someone pretending to enjoy a story they secretly hate. Later that evening, while everyone admired the SUV outside, Grandma quietly pulled me aside near the kitchen. Her voice dropped low. "The title stays in my name for now." I blinked. "What? Just trust me?" I almost questioned it, but something in her expression stopped me. She looked calm, prepared, like she already knew something I didn't. And 6 months later, I finally understood why. I drove that SUV everywhere. Late-night grocery runs, coffee shops 2 towns over, weekend drives with the windows down and music loud enough to shake the mirrors. For the first time in years, I felt visible, not because of the car itself, because somebody had chosen something specifically for me, not as an afterthought, not because nobody else wanted it. Mine. That feeling lasted exactly 6 months. Then Ryan's wife crashed her Lexus. Not badly. Nobody got hurt. But the repairs would take several weeks, and suddenly my family developed a group emergency I somehow wasn't invited into discussing. I found out accidentally, which honestly made it worse. I drove to my parents' house one Sunday afternoon for dinner and saw my SUV parked in their driveway. At first I thought maybe Dad borrowed it for errands. Then I noticed Olivia's giant beige diaper bag sitting in the passenger seat. My stomach dropped immediately. Inside, Mom stood in the kitchen arranging salad like nothing was unusual. "Why is my car outside?" She didn't even look guilty. "Oh," she said casually, "Olivia needed something reliable while her Lexus is in the shop." I blinked slowly. "She borrowed it for now, Mom sighed dramatically like I was already exhausting her. "Claire, don't start." "Start what? Wanting ownership over my own property." "I wasn't asked." "She has 2 children, Mom replied sharply. "You work from home." There it was again, the family equation. Her motherhood automatically outweighed my personhood. I tried staying calm. "How long exactly is she borrowing it?" Mom shrugged. "A few weeks maybe." A few weeks became 1 month, then another. Every time I asked about getting the SUV back, somebody acted inconvenienced. Ryan stopped answering texts completely. Olivia suddenly became too overwhelmed to talk. Mom handled everything instead, which meant manipulation disguised as practicality. "Claire, why are you making this difficult?" "It's my car. It's transportation." "No," I snapped finally. "It's my transportation." Mom's tone turned cold instantly. "Your brother's family actually needs support right now?" I stared at my phone in disbelief. Like my life counted less because I lived alone. Like independence automatically meant disposability. That night I opened the family group chat and scrolled upward for nearly an hour. And suddenly I noticed something disturbing. Every single sacrifice in our family came from me. Can Claire switch holidays? Can Claire drive farther? Can Claire help financially? Can Claire give up space? Can Claire understand? Flexible, reasonable, different words. Same meaning, be smaller so everyone else stays comfortable. 3 weeks before Grandma Vivian's birthday dinner, I finally called Olivia directly. No more middlemen. "Hey," I said carefully when she answered. "Hey, girl." I already hated the conversation. "I need the SUV back." Silence. Then, "Ryan said your schedule's flexible." My chest tightened instantly. "My schedule isn't relevant. We just really need reliable transportation with the kids right now." "So do I." Another silence. Then her voice hardened slightly. "You know, most aunts would want to help family." There it was, the guilt, the moral manipulation, like boundaries automatically made women selfish. "I have helped," I answered quietly. "For almost 2 months." Olivia sighed dramatically. "Honestly, Claire, this whole thing feels kind of immature. Immature, because I wanted my own property returned." I almost laughed. Instead I said, "I'm picking it up after Grandma's birthday dinner." Her voice cooled instantly. "We'll discuss it there." Then she hung up. "We'll discuss it there," like my own car required family committee approval. That was the moment something finally broke inside me. Not loudly, quietly, permanently, because deep down I realized the car wasn't the issue anymore. The issue was that my family genuinely believed they had permanent access to anything belonging to me. My time, my energy, my boundaries, my belongings, my silence. And the most terrifying part, they expected gratitude while taking it. Grandma Vivian's birthday dinner took place at Blackstone Manor, one of those expensive historic restaurants where waiters moved silently and every glass looked too fragile to touch. 43 family members attended, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't seen in years. children running between tables in tiny dress shoes. Mom loved events like this because they let her perform family perfection publicly. I arrived in an Uber. That part mattered. Because when the driver pulled beneath the front entrance lights, I saw my SUV parked directly beside the valet stand. Olivia's SUV now, at least that's how she treated it. There were stuffed animals hanging from the rear seat, a stroller folded inside the trunk, and a ridiculous Mama Mode sticker slapped across the back window. Something inside me went ice cold. She turned my car into hers so completely she forgot I existed. "Claire," Olivia waved cheerfully while climbing out holding her youngest daughter. Like none of this was insane. "You made it." I forced a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Looks like you did too." She didn't catch the meaning or pretended not to. Ryan barely acknowledged me at all. Just a quick nod before helping unload diaper bags from MY trunk. Not one person mentioned the situation. Not Dad, not Mom, not Ryan. Because ignoring unfairness is easier when you benefit from it. Inside the ballroom, everything glittered gold beneath chandelier light. Grandma Vivian sat at the center table wearing deep emerald silk and pearls. At 72, she still carried herself like royalty. Sharp posture, sharp eyes. Sharper mind. The moment she saw me, she smiled warmly. "There's my girl." Not "there's Claire," "there's my girl." Tiny difference, massive impact. Dinner started normally enough. Wine, toasts, stories about Grandma's younger years. Mom floated between tables collecting admiration like oxygen. Ryan entertained cousins loudly near the bar. Olivia passed babies around for attention. And me. I sat near the far end beside relatives who kept asking if I was still doing computer work. Halfway through dinner, Grandma suddenly looked toward me. "Claire, sweetheart." The room quieted slightly. "Where's that beautiful SUV I gave you?" 40 people turned toward me instantly. Before I could answer, Mom jumped in smoothly. "Oh, Claire let Olivia use it while her Lexus is getting repaired." Let, interesting word. Mom smiled proudly around the room. It was so generous of her. "Olivia needs something safe for the children." Murmurs of approval spread immediately. "That's sweet. So thoughtful. Family helping family." I felt physically sick. Because Mom wasn't just lying. She was rewriting reality publicly, turning theft into generosity. Grandma Vivian hadn't moved, hadn't smiled, hadn't looked away from my face once. Then softly, dangerously softly, she asked, "Did Claire offer it?" The room went silent. Mom laughed too quickly. "Of course she did." I asked Claire. That changed everything. Mom's smile flickered slightly. I looked around the table, Ryan suddenly interested in his wine glass. Olivia frozen beside the bread basket. Dad staring downward like he always did whenever conflict appeared. And suddenly I realized something devastating. Nobody here was going to tell the truth unless I did. My heartbeat thundered painfully. Grandma waited patiently, not rescuing me, giving me a choice. And for the first time in my life, I decided I was tired of being reasonable. "No," I said quietly. The room froze. "I didn't offer it." Mom's chair scraped sharply against the floor. "Claire, no," I repeated stronger this time. "I was told Olivia was borrowing it temporarily, then everyone stopped asking." Nobody spoke. You could hear silverware clinking 3 tables away. Grandma slowly placed her napkin beside her plate, then she looked directly at my mother. "Linda," she said calmly, "would you like to explain why my granddaughter arrived in an Uber while someone else drove her birthday gift?" My mother looked blindsided for exactly 2 seconds. Then survival mode kicked in. "Oh, please," she laughed nervously, waving one hand through the air. "Let's not make this dramatic." Dramatic, another family favorite. Funny how truth always became drama the second it embarrassed the wrong people. Grandma Vivian didn't blink. I asked a simple question. Mom's smile tightened visibly. "Olivia needed reliable transportation for the children." That wasn't my question. The temperature in the room seemed to drop instantly. 40 relatives sat completely frozen, watching my mother lose control in real time. Ryan finally spoke. "Grandma, it's temporary." "How temporary?" Silence. Olivia shifted uncomfortably beside him. "We were figuring things out," she muttered. "With Claire's property." Mom jumped back in quickly. "Vivian, honestly, Claire barely even drives. That's irrelevant." Grandma's voice cut clean through her sentence. The room went completely still again. because suddenly everybody realized this wasn't family teasing anymore. This was exposure, public exposure, and my grandmother intended to finish it. Grandma slowly folded her hands together. "Linda," she said calmly to my mother, "do you remember our conversation before Claire's birthday?" Mom's face changed instantly. Not anger, fear, real fear. "Mother, do you remember asking me for financial help purchasing Claire's SUV?" Several relatives looked up sharply. Mom forced a laugh. "Why are we discussing this now?" "Because I'm curious," Grandma answered smoothly, "whether the promises you made me meant anything at all." Aunt Denise lowered her wine glass slowly. Ryan looked confused now. Olivia suddenly stopped making eye contact entirely. Grandma continued, "You told me Claire often felt overlooked in this family." I physically stopped breathing. Mom's face drained pale. "You said you wanted to do something meaningful specifically for her." Nobody moved. Nobody even touched their food anymore. Then Grandma looked directly at me. And I agreed because I believed her mother finally understood the damage favoritism causes. The silence became suffocating. Mom spoke carefully now. "Vivian, this really isn't necessary." "Oh, I think it is." Grandma nodded once toward my Uncle Marcus sitting near the far end of the table. "Marcus, the folder." My stomach dropped immediately. Mom's eyes widened in panic. "Mother, no." That single word shut the entire room down. Uncle Marcus reached beneath his chair and pulled out a dark leather folder. My mother looked genuinely terrified now, like she knew exactly what sat inside it. "What is this?" Ryan asked quietly. Grandma ignored him. "Last year," she continued calmly, "Linda requested money from the Bennett Family Trust to purchase Claire's birthday SUV. Whispers exploded instantly around the ballroom. "The trust paid for the vehicle in full," Grandma continued. "Under one condition." Mom stood abruptly. "This is humiliating." "No," Grandma answered sharply. "What's humiliating is stealing from one daughter to reward another." That hit the room like shattered glass. Olivia covered her mouth instantly. Ryan stared at Mom in disbelief. Dad still said nothing. Of course he didn't. Grandma opened the folder carefully and slid several papers across the white tablecloth. Official documents, signatures, highlighted paragraphs. Then she said the sentence that changed the entire night. "The SUV was never yours to redistribute, Linda." Mom's voice cracked immediately. "It was a misunderstanding." "No," Grandma interrupted coldly. "It was entitlement." Then she looked directly at Ryan and Olivia. "And both of you benefited from it willingly." Ryan looked like someone had punched him in the chest. "What do you mean benefited willingly?" Grandma Vivian's expression didn't soften. "You took possession of a vehicle that belonged to your sister without asking her once how she felt about it." Ryan turned immediately toward Mom. "You told us Claire agreed." Mom snapped defensively. "She never objected." "I asked for it back," I said quietly. Every head turned toward me. "I asked multiple times." Olivia's face crumpled slightly. "Claire, you ignored me." The room became painfully silent again. Because once the truth finally enters a family built on denial, everybody starts remembering details differently. Ryan looked shaken now. Actually shaken. Like he was replaying every ignored text and uncomfortable conversation in his head simultaneously. Grandma opened the folder again. "There's more." Mom closed her eyes briefly like she already lost. Inside the folder sat a single cream-colored letter, handwritten, folded carefully. Grandma slid it across the table toward my mother. "Read it." Mom didn't move. "Read it aloud, Linda." "I'm not doing this." "Then I will." Grandma unfolded the paper slowly. "This letter was written by Linda herself before I released trust funds for Claire's SUV." Several relatives leaned closer instantly. Grandma began reading. "I understand that Claire has often felt invisible within the family." My breath caught sharply. Mom stared downward. "And I want this gift to show her that she matters equally." Nobody moved, not even the waiters. Grandma continued. "I promise the vehicle purchased through these trust funds will belong solely to Claire and will never be reassigned, borrowed long-term, or given to another family member without her direct permission." Ryan whispered. "Oh my God." Olivia physically covered her face. Grandma lowered the letter slowly. "You wrote this yourself, Linda." Mom looked trapped now, humiliated, exposed, cornered by her own promises, and honestly, part of me still felt sick watching it. Because no matter how badly someone hurts you, seeing your mother publicly unravel still damages something inside you. Then Mom suddenly exploded. "Oh, for God's sake, it's just a car," the outburst echoed across the ballroom. Finally, there she was, the real version underneath the performance. Grandma stood slowly. At 72 years old, she somehow looked taller than everyone else in the room. "No," she said quietly, "it is not just a car." Her voice sharpened like steel. "It is 25 years of teaching one daughter she matters less." Nobody breathed. "It is volunteering Claire's comfort whenever someone else wanted convenience." Mom's eyes filled with furious tears now. "You always take her side?" "I take the side of the child you keep erasing." That sentence broke the room completely. Aunt Denise started crying softly. One cousin stared openly at Mom in horror. Ryan looked physically ill. And suddenly, for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't the crazy one anymore. Everybody else could finally see it too. Grandma turned toward Olivia calmly. "The keys." Olivia immediately reached into her purse without arguing. That told me everything. Deep down, she knew this was wrong all along. She crossed the room slowly and placed the keys into my hand. The tiny silver moon keychain I bought months earlier still hung beside them. Seeing it almost made me emotional instantly. "Mine. Finally mine again." "I'm sorry," Olivia whispered shakily. And surprisingly, I believed her more than anyone else in the room, because unlike my mother, she at least looked ashamed. Nobody spoke for several seconds after Olivia handed me the keys. The silence felt enormous, heavy, like the entire family was watching 25 years of dysfunction crack open in real time. Mom looked around the ballroom, desperately searching for support, validation, agreement, anything, but the atmosphere had changed completely now, because once favoritism becomes visible, people can't unsee it. Ryan finally stood up. Slowly, carefully, "Mom," he said quietly, and honestly, he sounded heartbroken, not angry, not defensive, just devastated. "Did you really think this was okay?" Mom laughed bitterly through tears. "Oh, now I'm the villain?" Nobody answered. That silence told her everything. She turned toward me sharply. "You could have handled this privately." I stared at her in disbelief. "You announced to 40 people that I gave away my own car. That was different." "No," Grandma interrupted coldly. "It wasn't." Mom's composure cracked completely after that. "You know what?" she snapped. "I am tired of everyone acting like Claire is some victim." There it was, the real resentment, the thing hiding underneath all the reasonable speeches for years. "She's always been impossible to satisfy," Mom continued emotionally. "Ryan needed support. Olivia needed help. Claire has nobody depending on her except herself." The words hit hard, not because they were new, because she finally said them out loud. Grandma Vivian's expression hardened instantly. "And you think that makes her less deserving?" Mom opened her mouth, stopped, because there was no safe answer anymore. Ryan suddenly looked furious. "Wait," he said slowly. "Is that why you always expected Claire to give things up?" Mom looked cornered now. "She had fewer responsibilities." "No," Ryan answered quietly. "You just assumed her life mattered less." That sentence stunned the entire room, including me, because it was the first time in my entire life my brother truly saw it, really saw it. Olivia started crying softly beside him. "I should have asked you," she whispered to me again. "I'm sorry." This time I nodded slightly. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Dad finally spoke after nearly an hour of silence. And honestly, I almost wish he hadn't. "Maybe everyone needs to calm down." Grandma looked at him sharply. "Richard, your daughter spent months without her own vehicle because your wife decided she was less important than her brother's family." Dad immediately looked away, exactly like he always did, avoidance disguised as peacekeeping. Grandma turned back toward my mother one final time. "You spent years teaching Claire that love in this family depended on usefulness." Mom's eyes filled again. "I loved both my children." "No," Grandma answered quietly. "You loved one loudly and expected the other to survive quietly." That sentence broke something inside me, because suddenly every ignored birthday, every sacrificed plan, every be flexible, every moment of shrinking myself smaller to keep family harmony intact, finally had words. And once something has words, it becomes impossible to pretend it never happened. I stood slowly from my chair, gripping my keys tightly. Mom looked toward me immediately. For one second, I saw panic there, real panic, because I think she suddenly realized something terrifying. I didn't need her approval anymore. "Claire," she whispered shakily, but I interrupted gently. "No." The room froze again. "I'm done being the easy daughter." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I looked directly at my mother. "From now on, if something belongs to me, you ask." My voice stayed calm, steady. No more volunteering my time, no more sacrificing my comfort because someone else wants convenience. Mom stared at me silently and honestly. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of disappointing her anymore. The drive home that night felt unreal. For the first time in 2 months, I was driving my own car again. No diaper bags, no mama mode sticker. No feeling like a guest in my own life, just me, hands on the steering wheel, windows cracked open. Silence that finally felt peaceful instead of lonely. I cried halfway home, not dramatic sobbing. Just quiet tears sliding down my face while city lights blurred past the windshield. Because losing the SUV had never really been about transportation. It was about confirmation. Proof that my family truly believed my needs mattered less than everyone else's. And somehow, getting the keys back in front of 40 witnesses gave me something much bigger than a car. It gave me visibility. The next morning, my mother called 6 times. I didn't answer. Then came the texts, "We need to talk privately." "Grandma humiliated me. You made the family look divided." Interesting wording, not "I hurt you," not "I was wrong." Just concern about appearances again. I ignored every message. 3 days later, Ryan showed up at my apartment unexpectedly. Alone, no Olivia, no kids, no mom speaking through him, just Ryan, and honestly, he looked terrible. Exhausted, ashamed. "I owe you an apology," he said immediately after I opened the door. Part of me wanted to stay angry, but another part, the younger sister part, had waited years to hear those words. "I should have asked you about the SUV myself," he admitted quietly. "I just accepted what Mom said because it benefited me." I nodded slowly. "Yeah." He rubbed his face tiredly. "The worst part is, I never noticed how often this happened to you until Grandma said it out loud." That hurt more than the car somehow, because it meant my pain had been background noise for years. Ryan looked around my apartment awkwardly. "You built a whole life over here and somehow Mom still talks about you like you're 15. I almost laughed at that because it was true. To my mother, I was permanently the flexible child, the one expected to adapt endlessly without complaint. Ryan looked genuinely emotional now. "I don't think Grandma exposed Mom because of the SUV. No, he shook his head slowly. "I think she was waiting for someone to finally tell the truth publicly." And honestly, he was right. The SUV was just the final straw. A week later, Olivia came by too. She brought coffee. And surprisingly, the stupid Mama Mode sticker peeled carefully off the back window inside a little plastic bag. "I figured you'd want to destroy this yourself," she said weakly. That made me laugh for the first time in days. Then she started crying. Real crying, not dramatic, ashamed crying. "I became the kind of person I used to hate," she whispered. "I knew it felt wrong, Claire. I just kept convincing myself it was temporary." I looked at her quietly. "You still took it?" "I know." And somehow that mattered, because accountability sounds very different from excuses. Things with Mom got worse before they got better. For almost 2 months, she acted like the victim of the entire situation. Grandma embarrassed her. The family judged her. People treated her unfairly. Not once did she initially mention me, then something unexpected happened. The family stopped protecting her version of events. Aunt Denise called me privately and admitted she noticed favoritism for years. Uncle Marcus apologized for never speaking up earlier. Even cousins started reaching out telling me they always felt Mom dismissed me differently. It was like Grandma breaking the silence gave everyone else permission to stop pretending too. And my grandmother? She became even more unapologetic afterward. One Sunday afternoon, while we sat drinking tea in her garden, I finally asked her, "How long did you know?" She smiled slightly without looking up from her roses. "Since you were about 8. I stared at her. "You knew that long?" "Claire," she sighed softly. "Women who spent their own childhoods invisible recognize it immediately in other girls." That sentence hit me harder than anything else, because suddenly I understood. Grandma didn't rescue me because of the SUV. She rescued me because she saw herself in me. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner, she admitted quietly. You were surviving the best way you knew how. I didn't want to force you before you were ready. I looked down at the tea in my hands. Was I really that invisible? Grandma finally looked directly at me. No, sweetheart. Her voice softened. They trained you to act invisible so other people could stay comfortable. I cried after that, hard. Because some truths heal and hurt at the exact same time. Today things are different, not perfect. Different. Mom and I speak carefully now. There are boundaries, real ones. No more volunteering my time, no more speaking for me. No more deciding what I should sacrifice because someone else needs it more. Ryan and Olivia are trying too, slowly, awkwardly, but genuinely, and me, I'm not the flexible daughter anymore. I'm the daughter who finally learned that peace built on silence isn't peace at all. It's surrender. Every Sunday now, I drive my SUV to Grandma Vivian's house with my favorite playlist blasting through the speakers. And every single time I grab those keys, I remember the moment I finally stopped shrinking myself to fit inside other people's comfort. If this story meant something to you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional family drama stories, toxic family healing journeys, cinematic Reddit-style storytelling, and emotional comeback stories. And tell me honestly in the comments, would you forgive your family after something like this, or would you walk away completely?